Hey friends, it is time for Christmas in July, and I have 6 new vintage farmhouse DIYs. I have ornaments, a garland, and even a tree topper. So come craft with me. I'm Sarah, and welcome to my channel, Primroselaneprims. If you haven't done so already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button. And now let's get to those Christmas DIYs. For this first DIY, I'm going to be using this 2-inch wood ring. And I'm also going to be choosing 2 fabrics for this DIY. I'm going to be using this green and white or green and cream homespun and this red and cream homespun fabric. And I'm going to cut these fabrics into approximately 1-inch strips here. Now you could customize this very easily using whatever fabrics match your decor. Once I have these cut into the 1-inch strips, I'm going to cut them down into 5-inch pieces. And you see my little ruler there. Once I have one cut, I'll just use it as the template to cut the rest. And we are going to be making little mini wreath ornaments out of these strips of fabric. And like I said, this is such an easily customizable project. You can choose whatever types of fabrics that match your decor, match your style, whether it's traditional red and green or blues and silvers or even the buffalo check. And you could just use one solid piece of fabric too, instead of 2 different ones. Once I have all my fabric cut, I'm going to take and cut a decent length of this 4-ply jute twine here. And I'm going to loop it through my wood ring, and I'm going to pull it tight here and then tie the ends off. And that's going to be the hanger for our ornament. Just trim up those extra tails there. Once I have that done, I'm going to start taking my fabric. I'm going to start with my red. And I'm just going to fold it over, loop it through my ring, and then pull the tails of my fabric through the loop. If I can get a hold of my fabric, that is. Just pull it through and then pull it down really tight. And then next I'm just going to alternate with the green. Same way. Loop it through, put the tails through the loop and pull it tight. And then just continue alternating fabrics all the way around the ring. Now, like I said, I'm using a 2-inch wood ring here from Amazon. Dollar Tree also carries these wood rings if you can ever find them in, if your Dollar Tree carries them. Mine haven't had them in forever. My Dollar Tree is becoming less and less items are there, it seems like. But other things you could use, you could also use a canning lid or canning ring instead of one of these wood rings. And as a sweet subscriber reminded me on my last video, an alternative to these wood rings are the little shower curtain rings that you can get at the Dollar Tree or even Walmart really inexpensively. These are such cute little mini wreath ornaments, and these are even great to do if you want to get kids or grandkids involved in some ornament making. These are a perfect one to do it with because they're really easy to make. There's no hot glue or anything like that to worry about for the most part. They can just loop all the fabric through. I believe I used 7 of the red strips of fabric total and 6 of the green. with the 2-inch wood ring. Look how cute. Next, I'm going to take my 4-ply jute twine. I just got this at Walmart. And I'm going to just tie a simple shoestring bow here. And using a little dab of hot glue, I'm just going to glue it right on top of where I have that twine hanger. I said there was no hot glue. I guess there's a minimal amount in this project. Next, I'm taking my Waverly antique wax that I get from Walmart, and I want to make this a little more rustic, a little more vintage looking. And I'm just going to dry brush this antique wax right on my fabric. Just grunge it up a little bit, give it a little more of that primitive look that I love. And look how cute these are on a tree. For this next DIY, I'm going to be using these plastic candy canes. Now, I get these from Amazon. They are about 6 inches. Oops! About 6 inches or so, about the size of my hand approximately. I didn't measure them exactly. I'm right around there, 6-7 inches. And I'm going to be picking some fabrics. You've probably seen the fabric rack candy canes, and that is exactly what we're doing here. The fabric of your choice. Or in this case, I'm going to show you how to use a couple different fabrics to make these candy canes. And I'm going to start with this one using a canvas drop cloth, cutting a strip about 3/4 to an inch wide strip of this canvas drop cloth. You've probably seen me use these in previous videos. You can get a lot of projects out of these canvas drop cloths. I really love using them. And I'm just going to cut a decently long strip here because I'm going to use this to wrap all the way around my candy cane. I'll also be using this red and cream gingham homespun, and I'm going to cut about an inch long strip of it as well. To start off, I'm just going to put some hot glue all around the end of my candy cane here, and I'm going to loop my fabric right over the end and push it down securely, and then start wrapping it around itself and then tightly all the way down the candy cane. Guys, this is another really super simple, easy DIY that comes out so beautiful. I have made these in a variety of fabrics and colors over the years. These are also always great sellers at craft shows. I always make them and have them there. They are always a favorite and a staple of my Christmas trees. Once you reach the end, cut off the extra, leave a little bit extra there. Add some hot glue to the end of your candy cane as well as the end of your fabric. Finish wrapping it around and then tuck it down underneath the back side of that candy cane hook. There's what it'll look like. I quickly realized here that I had my red fabric way too thick to do the stripe of these candy canes. So I went back through, I had it about approximately an inch cut before, and I just cut it right in half so that I had 1/2 inch white strips, and that is the perfect size. So save yourself a step and cut it in a smaller, about a 1/2 inch wide strip to start with. Air is human. Add a little bit of hot glue right to the end. You want to make sure that end is down. Secured down good. I like to kind of tuck mine over the bottom edge a little bit there. And then just start wrapping your fabric right around the candy cane all the way down to make your stripe, your candy cane stripe. Once you reach the end, just cut off your excess and glue down that end with a little bit more hot glue. Like I said, I like to kind of tuck my end down to the back and towards the edge, so kind of hides the end there a little bit. Look how cute. Now, of course, because I want to make these a little more primitive, I'm going to go back in with my Waverly Antique Wax, dry brush it on my fabric to grunge this fabric up a little bit and give these a little bit more of that primitive vintage look. Now this is a candy cane that I just wrapped in a single fabric, the cream and the maroon that you saw I had laid out at the beginning. And I'm just going to go over it as well with the Waverly Antique Wax too. Now I want to show you here with this one. This is what happens like if your strip of fabric isn't long enough to cover the whole thing. No big deal. Just take some hot glue right where your stuff left off. Add another strip of fabric and just wrap it around to hide where you joined them, and then keep right on going. And I just want to show you this in case you want to use scraps or piece together pieces. That's totally okay to do. You don't have to have a singularly one long piece to do this in, because if you do it this way, you will never know that it was pieced together in the end. See? Can't even tell. And here's just a couple different fabrics to show you that I've done them in. And I love them all. For this DIY, we're going to be using the Dollar Tree Jingle blocks. Now, as you can see, most of them have these two-tone colors that are to them. I'm just going to be using the plain wood colored ones. And you're going to need 3 of these blocks per ornament. And we are going to be making a cute little rustic vintage snowman hat ornament. Now, to combine these two together, I'm going to be using a little bit of a combination of wood glue and hot glue. I want to get that instant stick that the hot glue gives you, but the long-term hold that the wood glue gives you. And this is just wood glue from the Dollar Tree. I find it works great. And if you have some hot glue or the wood glue seep out, just wipe it off. If you give that hot glue just a couple seconds to dry, it'll just peel right off the seam there. Just make sure they're pushed together nice and tightly, because sometimes that hot glue can try to leave a gap. Just squish them together good. And if you're enjoying this video so far, I hope you'll consider giving it a like. And if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. I'd love for you to come craft with me at another time. Once these are all glued, I'm going to take my Waverly chalk paint and the color ink. You could also just use regular black acrylic. Chalk paint's just what I usually use, what I have on hand. And I'm going to give these one good coat of the black chalk paint. One good coat of these is usually all it takes. It covers pretty well, and I'm going to distress these here in a few minutes anyway, so even if you have a little bit of something showing through, that's okay, because we're going to distress these anyway. Of course, because they're vintage, right? They're primitive, they're rustic. We got to distress. Once they're dry, I'm going to take a little piece of sandpaper here, and I'm going to go around and I'm going to start sanding my hats. And I'm going to focus on the edges because, of course, when you see an older object, it's always more worn around the edges. So if I'm giving something that aged look, I'm going to focus on making those edges the most worn pieces or worn sections. And I will go lightly over the center too to scratch and rough that paint up a little bit. And I'm going to do this to all sides of this because I like my whole piece to match front, back, and all around. Once I have my pieces sanded, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax once again, and I'm going to go over these with that antique wax. It's going to go over and darken all those places I sanded and the paint where it's been scratched up and give it a nice, worn antique look. Next, I'm going to use this red and cream fabric again. And I'm also going to use this black and white gingham ribbon from the Dollar Tree. Now, this is once again going to be easily customizable. You can pick whatever types of fabric or ribbon that matches your decor. Just need to cut a small little section to wrap around the bottom of the hat here, around the brim. I'm just attaching it using hot glue. And then of course, I'm going to go over the fabric and my ribbon with the Waverly Antique Wax because we need it to be vintage too. It needs to be a little bit distressed as well. Next, I'm going to take this small little piece of pine and I'm just going to trim a really small piece off here. And I'm going to kind of give it a little bend here. And I'm going to trim it down because it's just a little too bushy. It covers up a little bit too much of my snowman hat for me. So I'm just going to trim those little bristles down. Using a little bit of hot glue, just attach it right there to the corner of my hat. I also have this little small pine cone. Now the tip of this one had one of those little pointy ends, so it was not a good way to, or a good shape to hot glue it, should I say. So I just took my cutters there and snipped that end off and then hot glued it right there in the center of my pine. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing to my other one. Just trim down my piece of pine. Hot glue it to the corner after I trim it up. And add a pine cone. You could also add little red berries instead of a pine cone. I just love that rustic feel that the pine cone gives. And there's my little pine cone. Aren't these cute? Now we need to make a hanger for him. So once again, we're going to go in with the 4-ply jute twine, or your thinner jute twine will work for this too. This is just what I have on hand, and I'm going to cut a length about 4 inches long, 3-4 inches long, And then you're going to need a small section of whatever ribbon or fabric you use for the brim of your hat. Just a really small piece here. And using some hot glue, I'm just going to put it right here, a glob right on the back. And I'm going to place both ends of my jute twine in that glob. Add a little more hot glue on top. And then I'm going to add the fabric or the ribbon right over top of those ends. That'll help secure that, hold that down, and it kind of makes those ends look a little more finished up, a little more decorative and neat. Look how cute. Little too much ribbon on that one. Don't want it hanging over. Aren't these so stinking cute? Even Frosty would love to wear one of these. This last ornament here, this is another really fast and easy and simple ornament to make, and one that smells really good too. I'm going to be using 3 cinnamon sticks, and using these 3, I'm just going to hot glue right down the center of these 2 and add my 3rd one on top to make a little bundle. Then I'm going to go back in with my jute twine. And I'm going to leave a decent little tail here because that's what I'll be using at the end to make my hanger for these. And I'm going to put a little dab of hot glue there to start it, and then I'm just going to start wrapping it around the center of my cinnamon sticks. Just wrap it around a few good times there in the middle. And then cut off, leaving another decent long tail. And then I'm going to tie these together, these 2 tails together. And then tie these at the top again to form a loop for my hanger so I can hang it on my tree. Now I'm adding just a little dab of hot glue right to the edges of this knot, just a tiny, tiny amount. It just kind of ensures that when I trim these extra edges off here, that my knot won't unravel later. Because I don't like the big long tails left on my knot for my hanger, so I trim it down pretty flush. And by adding just a little bit of hot glue there to those, it keeps that knot from unraveling. Now next, I'm going to take the fabric or ribbon of your choice. I'm just using a ripped off little small strip of this red and cream homespun. And I'm just going to tie a simple little shoestring bow out of this little strip of ribbon. Now, I guess this is easy to customize to whatever types of ribbons or colors match your Christmas decor. And then I'm going to take and just hot glue my bow right here against where I tied that twine at the top of my little cinnamon stick bundle. And of course, I'm going to take my Waverly Antique Wax and I'm going to go over top the fabric to give it that grunge look. And on my twine as well. And here you go. These will make your tree smell amazing as well as look amazing. For this DIY, we are going to be making a twine and fabric garland for your tree. Now, I'm going to be using two different types of fabrics here. I'm going to be using the red and cream small gingham check, a larger green and cream check, as well as burlap. And I'm going to take my 4-ply jute twine, and I'm just going to tie a little slip knot right here in the end. I like to put a slip knot in the end, that way if I can wrap it around a tree branch, real easy to secure the ends so they don't come loose, or if I want to say hang it or put it over my mantle or some other place, I have a way to hang it to if I need to. Now the length of this will totally depend on how big you want your garland to be. So if you want to make a 6-foot garland, you'll need, 6 foot of twine. If you just want to make a small one for a small tree, you'll need much less. It's all depending on how big you want your garland to be. And I'm going to cut my fabric into about a little over an inch, probably about 1.25 inches, 1.5 long strips. And then I'm going to cut them down into 7-inch pieces. And I'm going to do this for my green as well as for my red and cream, as well as for my burlap. And I didn't measure the actual width, I just kind of eyeballed it, but for the most part, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 in width. Once you have all your pieces laid out and cut, you're just going to start tying them on. And I'm going to start with my red. Followed by burlap. So I'll be going red, burlap, green, burlap. So I'll be using my fabric, and between each fabric strip, I'll be using burlap. You could also do these in a single color. Once again, really easily customizable to whatever colors your Christmas decor is, or whatever. You could even use 3 colors on this if you wanted to, just by put your burlap in between each one. This is a really good project just to sit and pop a movie on and tie knots in your fabric on your twine. It's a really easy one, and it doesn't have to take a lot of, attention and, thought process as you do it. So it's a great one just to watch a movie. I like to pop on a Hallmark Christmas movie in particular. I am a Hallmark Christmas movie fan. Even though they're cheesy, I know. I love them. Are there any other Hallmark movie lovers out there? They like to watch Hallmark movies while they craft maybe? If not, let me know what you like to do. If you're crafting, do you like to listen to music? Do you listen to an audiobook? Do you like to watch a movie? And if you do watch movies, what is your favorite Christmas movie? I'm just curious. So just keep tying your fabrics, alternating between colors and with a piece of burlap in between. Red burlap, green burlap, red burlap, green burlap. And as you can see, I don't have these scrunched tightly together. There is a little bit of room, maybe a half inch or so in between each piece of fabric and burlap. These just are so rustic and look so good on a tree. I think so, at least. And here is what mine looks like after I'm finished tying all of mine. And I made this one for about a 3-foot tree. This DIY, we are going to be making a primitive star tree topper. So I want to start off by making a template. So I'm just going to be taking a piece of cardstock here and I'm going to fold it in half and I'm just going to freehand a star. This is a primitive star. So as you know, primitive stars they're not perfect. They have definitely have some imperfections in them. Not all sides are 100% symmetrical, and that's okay as long as it's close, and that's what we're going for here. I'm no super great artist by any means, but I'm just sketching this out and I just kind of played around with it until I got it looking the way I wanted to. You could also just print out a piece of clip art and use that for your template too if you wanted to, if that's easier. And once I have my star, I'm just going to cut it out. Not too terrible. Next, I'm going to take some burlap, and I have this doubled over. And I'm going to lay my star pattern, my little template, down on top of it. And I'm going to use my fine tip Sharpie marker here, and I'm just going to trace out my star on my burlap. Now, when I go to cut it out, I don't want to cut right on the line. I'm going to want to cut at least 1/4 of an inch out from it. I want to leave some strip because that line is going to be my guide of where I'm going to connect these. And this is a no-sew project, by the way, in case I did not say that. You can sew these, absolutely. I have sewn them and they look really cute with the stitching. So if you have a sewing machine, you want to do that, by all means, I say go for it because it turns out really cute that way too. But this no-sew method using hot glue also turns out really adorable. My burlap is curling up a little bit here, as you can see from where it was folded, but that's okay because when I'm done, it's not going to matter. You're not going to see that. Now I'm going to take the piece that has the Sharpie marker on it. I'm going to put it on the bottom and put the other piece on top. I want that to be on the inside. I don't want that to show. And I'm going to use that, as you can see here, as where to place my hot glue. Just be careful when you're pushing this together that it doesn't squeeze through that burlap and burn your fingers. I've totally done that before. Just going to keep going around and gluing on my little Sharpie line here. on all the sides until I leave one open though. I want to leave one of them open. Don't completely close it off yet, because we are going to add some stuffing to the star. We can't have a flat star on a Christmas tree. We need some dimension. So using some polyfill stuffing, or if you just have an old pillow stuffing, that would work too. It doesn't take a whole lot. We're just going to start stuffing our star. And I'm going to use my pencil here because you want to make sure to push it down into the tips of your star here. As I get this close to being stuffed, I'm going to start closing up part of this last star arm. Sure, star leg, star arm. There's probably a right name and I'm totally getting it wrong. So I'm just finish stuffing my little star here and then finish hot gluing it shut. Make sure that last arm has plenty of stuffing down in the tip that I just glued shut. I kind of made my burlap right there unravel a little bit, but that's okay because I'm going to glue it down, and when I do, it will be sealed up and you'll not even see that. Now we need a way to attach this to our tree. So I'm going to upcycle a toilet paper roll here. A paper towel roll would also work. And I'm just going to cut my burlap down to a piece that will fit around my roll. And attach it just using some hot glue. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to chop these ends into smaller pieces so that I can add some hot glue and fold them down into the inside of my toilet paper roll. Take care of those ends and hide the end of that roll so you don't see it. Make it look nice, neat, and finished. I'll do the same thing to the other side. And just trim up any little burlap stringies that are hanging off. Now, when attach it, take the back of your star and using a generous amount of hot glue, you want to glue, I'm going to use the seam where my burlap came together there on my roll is what I want to glue down onto the star. That way you don't see that seam. And that'll fit perfectly on the top of a tree branch to attach your star to the top of your tree. Now to decorate this, I'm going to take this thin piece. This is just some muslin. Muslin. A little tongue-tied there, sorry. Thin piece of cotton muslin. And I'm going to cut a small strip, large enough to go across the front of my star. And just using my regular printer and Microsoft Word, I just printed out the words Christmas Blessings in a font that I liked. And I'm going to trim that down, because as you can see here with this thin lightweight muslin, you can see through it pretty easily. But in case you have trouble seeing, I have one of these lovely little Crayola light boards, which I love. They're great for tracing. My daughter actually, well, it's hers, and I borrow it all the time for crafting purposes because it works wonderfully. And as you can see, I'm going to use my fine tip Sharpie marker to go over these words, and I'm going to trace these words right onto my fabric. Now I realized real fast that my fabric was wanting to slip a little bit. So I did go here, and you're going to see I'm going to ended up taping my paper to my fabric on the ends and on the bottom of the light board so that it would not slip and move on me. See, now I'm back with tape and it won't go anywhere. So once again, to err is human, live and learn. Tape. I'm going to remove my tape and the paper from the back. And I have a perfect copy of the word printed right on my muslin fabric. And I'm going to take this fabric and I'm going to hot glue it kind of at a diagonal, as you can see here, across my star. And for this little tail corner here, because the one end I left longer, I wanted an extra, just going to pull the corner and hot glue it down at an angle, kind of like a banner edge that's hanging over the extra that would just hang over. And then I'm going to take this rusty Jingle Bell, which you can get off Amazon or Factory Direct. I, of course, will leave links for all the stuff I'm using in my description box. And I'm just going to hot glue this small, very tiny piece of garland and pine garland and my rusty bell right there to the edge, right over top that little hanging edge. Now, of course, I'm going to go back in with my Waverly Antique Wax, and we're going to grunge this up a little bit and give it an even more primitive, rustic, vintage look. And I want to focus around the edges here so you can really kind of highlight the dimensions of this star. I absolutely love how this turned out. It looks so cute on a tree. And of course, the whole tree with everything put together.
So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed our Christmas and July DIYs. If you did, I hope you'll consider giving this video a like. And if you haven't done so already, I really hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future fun, budget-friendly DIYs for around the home. And also, I just wanted to say thank you so much to each and every one of you for all of your amazing support, all of your sweet comments you've given me. My channel is a relatively new one, under a year old, and I do read each and every one of your comments. I try to respond if I can. It really, truly means a lot to me, all of your kind words, all of your feedback, and I just wanted to say a really heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. So until next time, friends, happy crafting.